Wow, you leave things for a week and all sorts of stuff happens in World of Tanks. So welcome back to my channel. This is Gamer Dom, and here's a quick look at some of the things that have been happening for the last 2 weeks now in my Rambles of a Fool. So a couple of interesting things. Obviously the main thing is the fact that the Italian tech tree is coming, and very rapidly, if all accounts are to be believed. Particularly rapidly will be a new premium tank, tier 8 Italian premium tank with a little bit of a twist to it. Also we'll look at some of the updates, a new map, another new map. Blimey, Wargaming are working overtime on maps. Also a rework of an old map to make it HD and to change its look, which actually looks really cool. Look at what's coming through February, and also one or two other little stories and tidbits that I picked up on over the last 2 weeks. So anyway, let's get cracking. So unless you've been living under a rock, you will have noticed the fact that actually, as a bit of a curveball, developers announced that the next tech tree that's coming into the game is not likely to be the Polish as we originally thought, but is probably going to be the Italians. Now, it was always mentioned, well, it wasn't always mentioned, it was mentioned towards the end of last year that the Italians were on the list for nations to come, but given the fact we had the Poodle in the game some time ago, and given the fact that Polish player base is very strong, everyone assumed that the Poles would be first, but it appears that we may not be correct. It may well be the ITIs that come. And you know, long-term viewers of this channel will know I have a weird fascination for the Italian tanks of the Second World War, so I'm actually quite excited about this. I know, sad, isn't it? I don't know what it is about those little tankettes. They're just weird little things. People who don't know history will not know what I'm talking about, but the French, the Italians, certainly their early war tanks were dominated by little two-man tankettes that basically were like a coffin you laid down in, and they had like an anti-tank rifle as a weapon or a machine gun as a weapon. Very good for going up against Abyssinian tribesmen, not so good against going up against a Matilda and such like. Their tanks were pretty weak. Anyway, the Italians are coming. The Italians are coming, hide! But what's really interesting, and I won't dwell on this because, again, I guess those who are interested have already investigated it, and those who aren't don't give a toss. But there is a new mechanism being introduced to the game with the Italians, and it appears it will only come in with the tiers 8, 9 and 10 vehicles, which is kind of what happened with the stabilizer system on the Swedish TDs. So the idea is it's a sort of specialized autoloader, and it operates in 2 different ways. So it's a 3 shell, well, actually it says 4 here in this article, but the first version that's being introduced is a premium tier 8 medium tank. As is often the case with Wargaming, they bring out a premium just ahead of the actual tech tree coming to the game, and this premium version has a 3 shell magazine, and the idea is that you can use it either individually or as an autoloader. So you can fire 1 shell and then it will automatically start reloading that shell into the magazine. If you choose not to fire again, it will load it up in 2.5 seconds or something. If however you decide to fire again, it will then start reloading again. So whatever it's started loading on the first shell, it'll wipe that out and go back and start again, and then it will start to load the second shell, and vice versa, and same thing with the third shell. So if you decide to fire all 3 shells in a burst, it will take something like 35 seconds, I think it is, to reload the entire clip. So you've sort of got a gun that's about the same as a single shell, or slightly slower than most single shell reload guns, but slightly slower than autoloader. But from a tactical perspective, it presents some interesting opportunities for you. So you can imagine, I know, sitting at the back, because everyone does that, don't they? Well, sitting somewhere and sniping with this gun, because this medium tank particularly looks like a real sniper, firing individual shells like a normal gun, boom, boom, boom. then there's an opportunity. You see, I don't know, an object 704 that's not looking at you and is on fairly low health, and you leap forward because they have pretty good speed, these Italian tanks. You leap forward and you clip him with the clip. You then go back to another position and then continue firing as a sniper single shell shooter. And so I kind of like this idea. I think, you know, it's nice to have different variations in the game, right? It's what we need. It's you know, I frankly not entirely sure I see any historical justification for this mechanism, but hey, it's World of Tanks. Who said, you know, why let history get in the way of a good game? So, and as I say, I think from everything I've read, it'll only come in from tiers 8, 9 and 10. It won't affect the lower tiers. So interesting. There's the beauty. We'll talk about it in just a minute. This is the premium they're talking about. It's in super test. Now, intriguingly again, the suggestion is that this may well be available very, very soon, probably with the next patch, so 9.22, which is coming very rapidly. Why we think that is that in a developer forum, or in fact in one of the videos they're talking about this tank, the guy has a sort of speech bubble come up and say, oh, I've got something to use my girl reward crews from the Christmas period. Now bear in mind the Christmas rewards are only going to be available for you to use until patch 1.0 comes in March. It means this thing has to be available before March if you're going to use those gold crews, if you haven't already used them already. So, you know, we'll see. Could well see this premium tank in the garage in a matter of days. It's certainly in super test, so we'll have to see what happens. I'm quite excited because, as I say, I have a weird fascination for Italian tanks. I also still have all my girls from the Christmas thing, so if it's true, they won't go into the French tank, which is what I was thinking they were going to go. They'll go into this thing. Anyway, so what to look at on the tech tree? Well, we've got not an awful lot of information in terms of what these tanks are. This is an image that Harkonnen, I think, took from the video that accompanies this series. They look like they're all. It starts with a sort of fairly standard tier 1 light tank, and then they become medium tanks all the way through the line. Historical nuts like me will recognise some of these tank names. The M13, M14 were very, very common, fairly common tanks in the Second World War, fought in the Desert War. Huge failing of them was they were rivet mounted armour, and therefore they were not as effective as welded armour, because the rivets got shot through to the tanks, so they ended up looking like a missile. You'd hit the rivet on the outside, it would shoot through the inside and bounce around like a projectile inside, making a nasty mess of the crew members. So they weren't terribly good, and they also had a nasty tendency to burst into flames at the drop of a hat. However, that was the Italian tank. Those two particularly were the main battle tanks of the Second World War for the Italian army. They got better, but they never had a chance to produce any full-time tanks towards the end of the war because Italy dropped out. So yeah, it's an interesting line. We shall see what this means in terms of the tanks. I love having different nations in the game. I think anything that brings variety and different things into the matchmaking, particularly if they've got a different sort of mechanic and mechanism compared to other tanks, gets a big thumbs up from me. So let me know, ITI's excited or not? Discuss. So here are the stats for the incoming tier 8 premium Italian medium tank. This is the Progetto M35 mod 46. So tier 8 medium tank, expected, if all the rumours and all the speculation is correct, that we will see this with the next patch 9.22. And it kind of looks a very interesting medium tank. It has this new autoload system, the reloading autoloader, if you like. So it gives us a chance to try that system out, see whether it's going to be fun, and I guess gives Wargaming a chance to try it out and see whether it works. Yeah, kind of interesting little tank. So bear in mind these are super test stats, so they could well change. In fact, they have already changed once. But it looks to be a very mobile, snipey medium tank. So 1,400 hit points is meh. 35 tons. Maximum weight 40 tons. Powder weight is 18.63, which for a medium is not bad at all. 55 kph forward, 20 in reverse is also pretty good for a medium, and hold reverse 41.72 degrees per second is very, very whippy. Turret reverse 37.55 is okay, that's pretty good. View range is very good, 390. A lot of the tier 8 tanks coming through at the moment are about 390, and most of them at the moment are 380, so that's pretty good. Armor, however, not so good. 60 30 20. Even the turret is 80 40 25. Now we can only hope that well, I can say we can only hope. I can only hope, because I really like the look of this tank, but I really hope that there is a bit of extra padding around the gun mantle. On the model you can see of the tank, it looks like there is. It looks like it's got quite a big gun mantle, which hopefully will increase that that frontal turret from 80 to, I don't know, 300, 500 maybe. No, to a good number, whatever it may be. So at least then you can use the extremely good gun depression of 10 degrees effectively. So the gun itself, what you talked about, the auto-loading system, how the slightly unusual one, but the gun itself is not bad at all. It's Canon 9050, so I'm assuming it's a 90mm. Penetration with a standard round 212, which is pretty reasonable, and 259 with its premium shells, which I'm assuming will be APCR, but I don't know for sure, which is a little on the low side, but it's okay. 240 average damage, which is okay as well. Shell reload in 2.5 seconds, that's what it said before, so when it reloads just with single shell, that's how long it takes to reload it. Has a 3 shell clip. Accuracy is very, very good. 0.32 for a heavy tank is very good. Sorry, for a medium tank is very good. Aim time of 2.01 is also extremely good. So you're gonna, if you get a decent crew in there with gun lane drive or something like that, I don't know whether it will be able to carry vertical stabilizers, you'll be able to get that accuracy down even more, which is pretty darn good for a medium tank. So yeah, with that gun depression, lack of armor, it looks to be a tank that will play the sort of sniping role, but given it's got this 3 shell magazine and slightly unusual reload system, means that it also has the opportunity to use that power and that speed to get in and dirt people with 3 shell magazine. Now interesting, they're saying the reload on individual shells is 10, 13, 17, so yeah, it's kind of long to reload a shell, so yeah, we'll see what happens with that. It's going to be very, very interesting to see whether you do empty your magazine and then go for a long reload, or whether you let the thing reload properly and then fire individual shots one after another. We shall have to see when we get hands on this thing. Anyway, interesting. Good. Italians are here, or are coming. We'll see how effective they are. So yippity doos, a new map in Super Test. This is Studenski. I can't pronounce things, you know. This is a Polish based map. Going through Super Test right now. You can see it's still under development, but the theory of this one is it's a very open mobility based map. Lots of space for light tanks and medium tanks to shoot around. Bit of cover in the middle here where these villages are. There's also what looks like a brick factory or something up there, that grey area, around about D4. Don't know what that noise is. That's not me. That must be on the video here. Anyway, kind of good. And you know, I've said this before, I'm of the view that we can never have too many maps. And I'm really excited with the number of maps that they seem to be working on at the moment. Obviously it's all being held up by 1.0, which is the when that patch comes in and everything gets HDified, they're going to start, they say, going to start introducing new maps into the game. It's quite annoying, that ping, isn't it? It's not my computer, it's on this video. So they'll bring in all these new maps as HD, and you know, I say I welcome any additional maps we can have in the game. Variety is really good. You know, it gives us something to work with. You get the same old map time and time again. It's frustrating as hell, but there you go. New map, looks great, really pleased. So is this a new map I see before me? Well, not really. This is Mannheim, but you'll recognise, yeah, it's it's a very familiar map, but just got snow everywhere. So there's another map in super test at the moment. Looks like they've HDified it, if that's a word. Looks mighty fine, has to be said. But yeah, this is being worked on. Very pretty. Look at all that snow and texturing of the mountains. Brilliant. Look at the trees as well. Love it. Visual treat, I think we could say. Really pretty. There's the ice road down to the corner. The corner of death. Much rockier. Those sides of those cliffs look much more straight-faced than they were before. Yeah. So just HDified, so you can see with all the HDs of the different maps, they've improved to the texture. There's a few little refinements, kind of least where you least expect them actually. There's that little valley here. Back up to the TD Campers Hill. Beautiful looking thing though, isn't it? Don't you agree? There we go. So all the TDs sit and get shelled by artillery. Medium flank over here. Does look nice with the snow, given that. Spectacular. Ooh, that's different. That's opened up nicely there. Completely. That new road cutting through the top of that hill. Previously you had to sort of climb up carefully. Still that pond there is there on the right. Anyway, you get to see what it's like. This is in super test, probably coming in the next patch. What's that? I thought that was an Easter egg there. Wow. Okay, so it looks nice, and I like it with the snow. It does look cool, and with all the new effects, the new graphics, of course, in 1.0, all the snow will flick off the tanks and everything. Rather pretty. So Wargaming seem to be up to their funny little tricks again. So, or are they? So there was a lot of discussion on chat rooms and videos and what have you about Wargaming's decision to make the new Tier 8 French cockroach, the I used to say 1110, it's 1190. It's not. It's even 90. The ELC even 90, which is this actually fairly weak looking light tank that was talked about. I think we talked about in a couple of videos in the past. It's now in the game. It has been in North America for a while, and Russia I think have had it for a while, but in the EU server, Wargaming and their infinite wisdom decided to make it an early access option for those who use premium in the game. So if you have premium time, you were presented with the opportunity to buy this tank before anybody else. I don't know. and it says some long-term owners. It seemed to be very weird because I read this, went on my game, and bear in mind I've had premium time for, I don't know, a couple of years now. I didn't get the offer, but when I went on to the shop and logged in with my username, it was there. So I don't know, something went wrong. So interesting option. I guess in some ways, does it harm anybody that people with who've put money into the game get access to something before anybody else? But then on all the other servers, it was made available at the same time. I see people getting very hot under the collar about it. I personally don't give two hoots, mainly because I have no intention of buying this thing. It looks like a pile of junk. But anyway, I'd be interested to see what people think. Early access, does it matter? Do you care? Discuss below now. So this is an interesting development by Wargaming. I kind of like it. I don't know whether this is happening on all servers, but certainly for the EU, there's an option to preload 9.22 patch. So from 31st of January, you had the option to basically update it in the background. So it was sitting there in your client, ready to go for whenever the implementation actually happens. They say that's just to allow them to have, space out the load on their servers, so that I guess imagine, on the day of a new launch, everybody logs in and they all try and update. That must put a hell of a strain on the servers. So by pre-loading, you can sort of get it now, but you can't use it. It's just there, and then when the implementation happens, it happens. So kind of cool idea. Be interesting to see whether there's they say there's no impact on the client performance or the game performance while you're playing the current patch. So interesting. So it goes into a different folder called WoT Tank Updates. So there you go. So interesting. I think that's good. Maybe personally I never find it particular issue, but then my PC is generally always running, so even when I'm not playing, the client updates it. So when I wake up on the morning of a patch, it's already updated. But yeah, it's good, and I guess anything that helps in terms of playability and doesn't infect the servers has got to be a good thing. So did anyone catch this this story? Reports that there's going to be an Argentinian, yep, you read it right, an Argentinian premium tank coming into the game. Well, it's not really an Argentinian tank. It's basically a Sherman. This is the, I can't even pronounce that, Reptopontico, no. It's basically a Sherman Firefly VC and IC hybrid. So it carries the 105mm gun. Basically think like a Revelise. So it's probably a tier 8 premium medium tank, but will be Argentinian. Now there was this is the Daily Bounce, and Harkonnen was kind of bit sort of skeptical about it, saying about, it seems weird thing to be bringing out. Now I don't know how big the appetite of World of Tanks is in South America, but who knows, there could well be a very, very big audience, and therefore that's what they're pandering to. But it seems very odd to bring a tank out of the blue, an Argentinian tank, when there is nothing else, unless they're planning to put it into the tech tree as a sort of medium, bit like they did with oh great, what was it, the well, the Rudy was technically a Polish tank, but was in the Russian tree. There was that Sentinel, wasn't it, which is technically an Australian tank, which is in the British tank line. So maybe they were planning to do that. However, there was a rumor that this was coming out, and it was coming out very, very quickly, potentially only for the North American server. But we know that what happens with World of Tanks. They say it's only coming for one server, and then they decide, well, you know what, let's make some money somewhere else. However, Harkonnen's updated his blog to say he's now found out from a reliable source that it's not coming anytime soon, well certainly not in February as was suggested, because everyone's working too busy on the big update 1.0. So the rollout of this tank has been postponed, but it does appear that it is true. There will be a new Argentinian premium tank coming into the game. So, and it's another Sherman. How many Shermans we got out there? Sheesh. So it looks like we're saying goodbye to another premium tank, preferential premium tank at that. The French Tier 8 heavy tank, which is more like a medium, the FCM 50T, had the preferential matchmaking, so you could only see Tier 9s as a maximum, is being withdrawn from the game. So you will no longer be able to purchase this thing. It's fallen out of favour, partly I think because of the new matchmaking system. It suffers like a lot of them. However, it was an intriguing heavy tank, kind of very, very mobile, and a lot of the very good players absolutely loved this tank when it first came out. So you don't see it quite so often, although I've seen a few more recently because it was obviously being sold before they take it out the shops. Of course, they make it available for sale, but this is removed from the game. Slightly more concerning for most people is that the talk of the Object 252U and Defender is coming back. Certainly it is confirmed as being for sale in North America at some point this coming month. But Wargaming had said previously that they would not be selling it again. They certainly said over Christmas it wasn't going to be up for sale. And they kind of admitted at the time that this was a mistake. It was too good. Shouldn't have released it. But they clearly are after our dollars or our euros or our pounds, and are going ahead and issuing it anyway, because we know that we can believe everything that Wargaming say. When they say a tank is never up for sale again, Mutant E25 Domain 2, they stick by their words, obviously. Yeah. So watch out, people. Defender is likely to be on the battlefield. Certainly in North America you are going to be seeing this thing, and given the fact it's created such a hoo-ha, you can guarantee that people will buy this in droves because it is seen as a complete, and frankly it is a very, very strong heavy tank. Even noobs like me get some really good results in it. When you get somebody who is really, really good at the game playing it, wow. But it's so you will get a lot of players playing it and buying it. So afraid North America, you're going to see a lot of these out there. So time once again to take a look at what is coming in February for the EU server. So we've got one of these mini marathons. So you can basically get one premium tank for free if you do all the missions and collect the tokens. No idea what that mission will be yet. The last few occasions they've been get a certain number of kills and a certain amount of XP in tanks of every nation. No idea also what the vehicle is will win, but I guess we'll find out in good time, so that's good news. It's nice to have these things to head for. So top of the tree for your EU server is the French heavy tank line, leading up to the AMX M4 1054. That's largely because of the new tech tree have just come in, so they'll be basically able to grind your way that much quicker through that line, get extra experience, get bonuses and so forth, which is great. I'm working my way through that line. Well, I'm working my way, still in the tier 8 at the moment, the ugly duckling, but it's okay. It's not as much as fun as I thought it was going to be, but it's okay. So the other thing is, for each weekend during February there is a different focus on different tanks. So first weekend is heavy tanks, then medium, then tank destroyers, and for each of those you will get ×3 for your first victory of that weekend. So 3rd to the 5th, if you're driving a heavy tank, you'll get ×3 XP for your first victory. There you go, interesting. Then the 4th to the 18th is the daily mission thing with the try to collect the tokens. Now that's not very long, so it can't be a very high tier premium, or can't be a very difficult mission. Interesting. because normally that goes on for a good month or so when it's the, do 60 kills and 30,000 XP or whatever it was. If it's only from the 4th to the 18th, that's not long. So don't know what this premium vehicle is. We shall find out in due course, I guess. Chinese New Year, 6th to the 28th, means that there will be various bonuses for Chinese tanks. Good. Valentine's special, 14th to the 18th, times 3 XP for your first victory, and various specials. They usually sell the Matilda, Black Prince, and the Valentine, and the Matilda 4 premium tanks for sort of half price or something. So if you want to get your hands on those, that 14th to the 18th is probably when that'll be. And then supply dump, 19th to 23rd. If you've already done the January supply dump raid, you'll know about this concept. So you get daily missions and some really nice rewards out of it. So yeah, good. I like missions, I like rewards. I think that just makes logging in, playing a few games kind of much more fun to do. So that's the EU. So let's have a look at North America. Okay, so let's take a look at what specials are coming in North America this month in February. So Valentine's Day and Carnival. There will be 4 days of gold discounts on the Matilda 4, the Matilda Black Prince, and the Valentine 2, as along with special missions that yield personal reserves and consumables. So that's from the 12th to the 16th of February, because of course everybody will be playing tanks rather than going to see their wives or girlfriends that day. Other things happening. Sabaton, the Swedish rock band that had the tank Prima Victoria sort of based around them, is they're on tour in North America apparently. So to commemorate that, the Prima Victoria is going to be on sale from the 8th to 26th, and there'll be various missions to award special inscriptions and so forth for that tank, if that is your bag. It is basically just a Centurion, Centurion 1 I think, and it's actually a really nice little tank. Good premium, I think. And if they're selling it with the Sabaton crew on board, you get a tank with built-in brothers in arms, which is kind of useful. The trade old for new vehicles is again open, apparently from the 7th to the 21st. So never know whether I've never seen it on the EU server when I've been on, so I don't really know whether it's a good deal or not. Be interested to know whether it is a good deal. I guess if you've got a premium that you never play and you never want to play in your garage, then you get any money back for it, and you have to use it on a new tank. So that's always been my problem when I've been thinking about it, is I've got a couple of tanks I'd be quite happy to get rid of, but I've got most of the premiums I'll ever want, so difficult to know what I would swap it for. But yeah, let me know down below if you've used the trade-in service. Has it been worthwhile? Do you appreciate, do you think it was a good thing? So special sales, a triumvirate package gets a package of creds, gold and premium time is coming available. So you've got the just enough from the 1st to the 15th, and then the triumvirate February to 15th to the March the 2nd. Yeah, where you just buy lots of good stuff. Right, in terms of premiums on sale, you've got the KV-122 Russian tier 6 premium heavy tank, more like a medium, but kind of fun. 1st to the 12th of February. 2nd to the 6th is the FV2 FCM50T, just before it gets withdrawn. Then you've got the Prima Victoria, as we talked about, and then there's a surprise tank, 15th to the 26th of February. Now this was where they were thinking this Argentinian tank might pop up, but it doesn't appear so. So I wonder that could well be the new Italian premium tank. That would be my guess. And for the people who are desperate for the Defender, 22nd of February to the 5th of March is when that thing goes on sale again, despite the fact they said it wouldn't. Moving on, you've got Groundhead weekend, you've got supply raids and ×3 weekends. You can read all this stuff yourself coming through the month. Lots of good stuff, lots of good missions. On track for North America is the 113 and the WZ111 Model 5A Chinese heavy tanks, so that's good. And weekly deals, again, I don't really understand these. Somebody in North America hopefully do, but you've got earn, advance, expand, boost through the month. And then the mastery badges, which I do wish they would do elsewhere. I love this idea. So the idea is that if you master these tanks in this time period, then you will get a special emblem, which is kind of cool, I think. So Type 61, T1 heavy tank, and the Jag Panther for the first couple of weeks of the month. Then the T-37, the Centurion. Anyway, you can see it here. Variety of tanks, and I kind of like that, and I wish we had it in EU. So interesting month. New premium, surprise one. Bet it's the Italian. We shall see. And the Defender coming back. Oh, I can't complain because I bought a Defender and I do use it. So who am I to moan about it coming up on sale? Who is anybody who owns it able to moan about it coming up on sale? But they did say it was OP and they weren't going to sell it again. But it just shows how much you can trust wargaming, right? So virtual reality, anybody? Appears that wargaming are dipping their toes into the VR world, which is kind of, I guess, to be expected. You've got to keep ahead of the new trends. So they are apparently have a new division called Neurogaming, who are looking at effectively turning World of Tanks into a VR virtual reality game, which is kind of interesting. I never use virtual reality. But I know a lot of people do, and it's becoming a growing thing. I'm not sure how it will work. It'd be very interesting to see what they talk about. Will it be... They're talking about it being a multiplayer, but more kind of a new kind of game platform for the game. So I don't know how this will work, because kind of when you're firing guns and waving swords around, I can see how VR works. But when you're controlling a tank... Does it work? I don't know. Anyway, interesting. I just saw it. I thought, yeah, good on them for continuing to invest and look at new opportunities to make the game bigger and better. And you look at what they've done with Blitz. That certainly seems to have taken off. A lot more people playing it on the console now, and potentially VR as well. So yeah, cool. More the merrier. So thanks for watching. I hope you found that interesting and useful, and do let me know what you think down below in the comments. It's really good to have that interaction. It's great to hear what people are thinking and their feedback on some of the stuff that's coming, maybe coming, rumours, blah blah blah. Fake news, Argentinian tanks, not saying anything. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. As I say, if you did, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. In the meantime, enjoy your games, have fun, try not to take it too seriously, and good luck with the missions. And I'll see you again soon. This is Gamer Dom, signing out.